Hi everyone, this time I thought I'd just run through single player campaign. You can go to single player and we can start with Napoleon's campaign difficulty, very hard, and battle difficulty, very hard. These settings are what I prefer, so let's get into it and start the game.
France was aflame.
The treacherous British have once more conceived plans against
Just
France,
turn that off.
pulling Austria and Russia into
Okay, now this is the first mission that comes up, which you have to accept. Okay, now the next most important thing to do is to go to government and ministers. Now they're all pretty good, and I must say this part doesn't make or break whether you win or lose. So they're all pretty reasonable ministers, and here you have the candidates down the bottom. Now what we're going to do is get rid of, say, the 3-star and try to, even though these are all 3 stars, we're going to try and improve our minister for justice. Now, to remove a member of cabinet and to replace him with one of the 5 candidates down the bottom, is you just need to left click on one of them and drag him up to the minister you want to change. What you can do is from here you can just sort of continue to drag and drop them all up. I'll just quickly show you. See, nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened, and nothing happened. By pressing Ctrl S to save before you make any changes, and then Ctrl L to reload, we'll reload the previous cabinet with those candidates again at the bottom. And this is quite random. You just need to just keep trying until you get a candidate replacing a minister which you're happy with. Okay, now I'm pretty happy with this one. I've managed to change our previous minister for justice with this particular gentleman, and his bonuses include +1 to management, +1 to happiness of lower classes, +1 of happiness to nobility, and +1 to management for treasury administration. This has also increased his number of stars from 3 to 4. Now I'm pretty happy with this, so I'm going to leave it like this. And the government's popularity was initially at 42%, and with that particular change it's now gone up to 48. So I'm quite happy with that, so we'll leave it as that for the start of this campaign and see how we go. Okay, now the next most important thing to do is probably have a look at your tax levels. Now one thing you might want to consider is to actually drop the tax levels. You do lose about 1,000 per turn at this stage of the game. However, your population in all your regions will increase a lot quicker. Okay, now the next thing to look at is research and technology. National debt is always a good one to start off on, and we only really have one college at the moment to develop our research and technology, so we'll leave it at that. The next thing to look at is your diplomatic relations. Okay, and the first one we'll look at is Prussia, and see what sort of negotiations we can conjure up to benefit us in the long run. Now, we open negotiations. Now at the moment we're at peace. We can try for a trade agreement. And regions, what we can do is offer a swap, which is giving for Prussia to give us this region, and we'll give them Hanover. Technology, we might be able to sneak a couple of technologies out of Prussia as well. There we go. So we've made the trade, and it's all worked very well to our advantage. You can probably add maybe a few other little things, because Hanover is a good region to swap, particularly at the start. you know, you might be able to sneak a few extra little things out of Prussia in the deal, but that'll do it for us now. Now on the main map you can see how we've now given Hanover to Prussia, and we have taken Cleves Mark, I think it's pronounced. The importance of this swap gives us a buffer between Prussia and France. So with these other minor nations in between, Prussia is no longer directly on France's doorstep. Okay, so the next thing to do is go to Ottoman Empire, and we open negotiations and request a trade agreement. You could probably ask him for some money, but it's probably not worth it too much. So we'll just try that. And he's agreed, so we've got a trade agreement with Ottoman. Now the next one to create a trade agreement with would be Hessen. So we'll just send that off. Now he wants 120, which is fair enough. Now the next one we can go to is Oldenburg, and we can request a trade agreement with them, and we'll send that off. And he wants 120 as well. Yes, stingy buggers. Now we've got a trade agreement with Oldenburg. Now let's have a look at some other ones we can. Portugal. Can get a trade agreement with them. 310. Nah, that's acceptable. And who else? Denmark. Okay. Which is good. And is there any others? Yes, Mecklenburg. I hope that's pronounced correctly. Okay. So, that's pretty much all the minor nations that we can get a trade agreement with. When you think of the settings being very hard, that's probably quite ridiculous to get all of those trade agreements. However, that said, these settings are the highest and it's still a pretty good campaign. Now the next thing to look at is the gentlemen, and we're just going to quickly move them to our college. If you press the space bar, they'll move a lot quicker. Okay, that guy doesn't get there the first turn, but that doesn't matter. Now, over here we've got a National Guard, militia. We can probably pick one of the ports and move them to one of the ports. Now, here's Napoleon and his army. Just move him up here. Spy. I generally take the spies over towards Austria. Nay. Bring him up here. Murat. Move him over there as well. And Davot, I think that's pronounced correctly. Move him over there as well. Now we've got one Messina. Now he's all down here by himself, and best thing to do is just pull him back to the closest city there. Now navy wise, we'll move the navy over towards Spain. Now the next thing we need to do is look at this particular navy down here and move them up to this particular trade node. It's surprise, surprise, someone's already there. And that's allied with us. So we'll declare war. Why not? And we don't call allies to help. I don't tend to call allies to help. For no particular reason. Someone might have a good reason to call allies, but I don't tend to do that. So we declare war. And no one else has joined the war, which is good. So here we have a naval battle, and he's got a number of trade ships, and this is the reason why we're attacking, is to hopefully capture some of these trade ships. Now I'm not going to play this particular battle. One reason is it takes a bit of time, and it's not a terribly exciting battle anyway. When we get to Nelson, and I'll show you some tactics to take Nelson out quickly, we'll play the actual battle for that. With this one, we just want to really capture some of the trade ships so we can use it. So auto resolving is probably the quickest and easiest. Okay, now this was a pretty good result. Still got my ships fairly much intact. I think I've just lost one smaller ship, but I've managed to pick up a trade ship, which is a pretty good result. So we just add that to the fleet and accept. Okay, now we've got a trade ship. We'll move it straight down to where the ivory is located. And that gives us 900 per turn. Okay, so that's just about it for turn 1. The only other thing that I did was actually traded some technology with one of the minor nations to give me enough money to build both, or start building both, the dry docks. Okay, so the AI turn. Repositioning the fleets for Britain. Now, Batavian Republic would like a peace treaty. Probably accept that because that gives me an extra 540, but no apparent reason. Spain moving around a few of their armies.
There are naturally occurring resources in this region that are not currently being exploited. Development in these areas now will increase your nation's trade income later.
Now we've got a agent recruited, which is a gentleman, and we'll go and see where he is. Here he is here. And we'll move him down to the college. Well, that's about it for turn 1, so I'll leave the video there for now and post this up. Please feel free to make some comments if you like, or any requests, and I'll probably continue on with the campaign in the near future. So until then, we'll see you soon.